hated Edge. Being 8 years old, I hated that guy.
I was the only 9 or 10-year-old on Earth, I think, that liked Edge.
Yeah, I hated him.
But Edge would come out first, which I'm always a believer that, like, I believe in the champion's entrance where the champion should always come out last. Although by him coming out first, you could just tell, especially once the music like stopped, you could just hear the boos from the crowd, which is perfect. And then when Batista came out, he would get the big cheers and the roar from the crowd. So I thought that was good. It felt like an important match. Like it had like the feeling of a world championship match.
Oh, for sure, yeah, it did. I would say the only reason it's kind of overshadowed is because the next match had that feel, I think, more than this one.
Oh, for sure. But you also got to keep in mind that the match that happened following this was a WrestleMania main event as well.
That's true.
These guys never really had like
it's also two of the biggest legends in WWE history.
Yeah, which these guys are both Hall of Famers too, but
yeah. But anyway, back to this one. I actually really like this. I think I gave it 3.5.
Yeah, I did as well, and I really liked it as well. It started out with Batista. He'd get like the early edge on Edge, no pun intended. I was not trying to do that, actually.
That's funny.
It just happened. I was really not trying to do that. There's actually one point where Batista would hit like a jackhammer on Edge, and he'd get a 2 count, and there'd be a little bit of a Goldberg chant. That's kind of funny.
It is.
So then Batista would then continue to dominate, and then Edge would then hit a baseball slide, and then that would kind of turn the momentum because when he hit the baseball slide, it kind of send Batista over the announcer's table, and then Edge would taunt, and then in the match, then Edge would start being in control. No, it was a pretty good match. And then they both pull out their best moves in this. Edge would hit the Edge-O-Matic. Batista would even pull out some good ones in this one. So I thought I really like this. And then towards the end, Batista would go to, actually not quite at the end, but this is the later part of the match. Batista would look to go for the Batista bomb, but then Edge would counter into the Edgecution. The impale or DDT, whatever you want to call it, and then you get a 2 count out of it. Then Edge would go for the spear, but then he'd run into a kick from Batista, and then Batista would head up top for some reason. That was kind of weird.
It was.
And then he would just jump off the top, and then he'd get caught with the drop kick from Edge, and then both guys would go down, and then while both guys are down, Hawkins and Ryder they'd wheel Vicky out to the ring. And then Edge would go for the spear, but then Batista would leapfrog him. Then he'd hit him with the spine buster. And then he would get he'd get the 1-2, and then Vicky would pull out the ref. And then Edge would go for another spear, but Batista would move out of the way, and he'd send him into the ring post. Then the ref would begin to do a 10 count on Edge, and then he'd pull him out.
Would Edge just punch him in the face?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
of course Vicky would
get on.
Call out her rush.
Yeah, Vicky would get the microphone, and she'd demand another ref. Then out would come Chavo in the ref shirt, and then Batista would then pull Vicky into the ring by her hair.
This was brutal.
Yeah, because I was not expecting that. Because I remember the spot at the end, which we're going to get into here. I remember that, but that was pretty aggressive. I'm not going to lie.
He straight up pulls her, it was insane.
I mean, that's something he'd do to Edge, or one of the.
He picks her up and throws her on Hawkins, Ryder, Vimeo, and Chavo.
Yeah, he just press slam her onto La Familia on the outside. And then Batista, he'd turn around, and then he'd get nailed in the head with the championship from Edge.
And then Chavo would jump in the ring and count 1, 2, 3, and that would be it.
So Edge would retain the World Heavyweight Championship. And what I thought was a pretty good match, 3.5 from both of us.
Yep.
Then obviously to follow this, the next night on Raw, Edge would appear. It was JR's send-off for Raw. He would just interrupt it for some reason. And then he would send his backup with Hawkins and Ryder. They'd go to the back with JR, and then out would come Batista, who would just beat the hell out of him.
I mean, he beat the shit out of him. Like, it was brutal.
Yeah, he did. So then from there, that would leave Edge just prone in position, and then Punk would cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase, and then Punk would become the new World Heavyweight Champion. And a cool moment. I guess the only sad part is like the most memorable thing of that whole title reign was, or the whole time of him being champion was when he cashed it in there. After that, there wasn't anything really significant.
Yeah, we don't have to get into that now.
Oh yeah, we got more 2008 shows.
Mm-hmm.
So then, after that, we would have before the main event, Triple H would head his way to the ring, or to the entranceway. Not to the ring yet. He's got to make his entrance to Gorilla, to the entranceway for the main event, and he would be stopped by Todd Grisham. Man, they got this guy running all over the building.
I know.
He'd want to get Triple H's final thoughts before heading to the ring to face John Cena. Triple H would say his final thoughts are he's going to do what he should have done 2 years ago, referring to their match back at WrestleMania 22. So the next, we would have the main event of the show. It would be for the WWE Championship, Triple H defending against John Cena.
Yeah, I thought this was match of the night. I gave it 4 stars. I actually thought they kind of tore it down.
I thought it was a great match as well. I thought the video package, too, beforehand was just excellent because, you got Cena talking about moments in time. They show the... classic moments over the years, like, with The Rock and Austin.
I'm surprised they never did a third match to settle the score.
Yeah, they just... Well, they did. I think they did do, like, one match, like, later down the road, but, like, no one really remembers that, or no one really cares.
But, I mean, like, I'm surprised they didn't do it like a Mania or SummerSlam. Like, Cena versus Triple H for the third time. This is the tiebreaker,
Yeah, because this is, wow. I mean, like, I guess it's like, obviously they did this match before, but it just felt like a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. It had one of those main events where, like, it felt like a Mayweather main event. You're like, this is a big deal.
Yeah, and I kind of miss that feeling, like, nowadays.
Like, this is a main event I would buy a pay-per-view for.
Yes. Especially at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why 273,000 other people did.
Yep.
So, yeah, so then they show all the classic moments. They show Rock and Austin, and then they show Hogan body slamming Andre. They show Foley winning his first title. The Shawn Michaels zip line at WrestleMania 12. Brett winning his second world title. Backlund winning it. Hogan beating the Sheik. Flair winning the 1992 Rumble, and then winning the title there. And then Eddie beating Brock at No Way Out in 04. I mean, man, they're showing a lot of great classic moments here.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'd have the introductions. Triple H got a pretty good ovation. Cena got the emotion from the crowd, but it'd be kind of mixed.
Mm-hmm.
So, to begin the match, Triple H would get a side headlock, and then Cena would send him off with Triple H getting the shoulder block early. And Triple H would stare him down afterwards, and Triple H goes from a headlock to a hammerlock, back to a headlock, and then Cena would send him off again. And then he'd send him off a second time, and then he'd get taken down with the shoulder block. And then Cena would get back up, and then Triple H would he'd try to do a hip toss, but then Triple H would counter into one of his own. Then Cena would back off. So then from there, Triple H would try to do a hip toss, and Cena would counter into a clothesline. So then later on, Triple H would come back with some shots but Cena would cut him off with the running shoulder block. He'd try another, but then he'd miss on that one and fall to the floor. Then on the outside, Triple H would ram Cena into the apron. Then back in the ring, Triple H would knee Cena a few times and get the backbreaker and a vertical suplex. He'd hit a few elbow drops on Cena's back, and then Triple H would give him an Irish whip and a hard one, and then Cena would just take it. And then he did another one for good measure, and he'd go for a cover and would get a 2 count. Cena would try to fight back, but then Triple H would then would then throw him into he'd throw him into the corner, and then he'd hit him with a boot. And then Triple H would go for a fist drop, but then Cena would put his foot up, and then from there Cena would hit a series of shoulder blocks and do the sit outside slam, and then Cena would try to do the 5-knuckle shuffle, but then Triple H would counter with an up kick, and then they'd
which was shocking because nobody ever counters that move.
No one counters that move. And then they trade with some Irish whips, and then Triple H would get the high knee, and then the jawbreaker, and then he'd get the boot to set the pedigree, but then Cena would reverse with the throwback, and then the crowd is just split on this one at this point. And Cena would hit the top rope leg drop, and then both guys are down. So then he would he'd go for the STF, but then Triple H would then kick him off. And then he would hit the side slam again, and then Cena would want to do the 5-knuckle shuffle. He comes off the ropes, but then Triple H would catch with another high knee. So man, Triple H is just like not going with the 5-knuckle shuffle. He's got them all scouted, yeah. So then there'd be a spine buster, and Triple H would try to go for the pedigree again, but then Cena would counter. And then Triple H would he would sell the damage to the left knee on the bump to the floor, which that's good psychology once again.
Mm-hmm.
And also they point out, I guess, that Triple H in the past had like quad injuries or whatever, so the backstory there. So then Cena would then later go for the STF, but then Triple H would get to the ropes. Then Cena would clip his knee, and Triple H would try to fight out of the STF, but then Cena would hang on, then finally would lock it in, but Triple H would get to the ropes again. And then he'd go for the FU, but then Triple H would slide out, and then he'd get the pedigree, but then that would be a 2 count because of the delayed cover. And then Triple H would be down selling the damage to the knee. So then both guys would be out. They'd both get up to their feet at the count of 8. Cena would get the FU, but then once again another delayed cover, so then there was out in a 2 count. Then there was a double knockout spot again where both guys were just down due to exhaustion. This was a lengthy match too. It went over like 21 minutes.
Yep.
So then they both battle it out in the end. They both go for the punches, the boo, yeah, that whole deal. Where they'd cheer when Triple H would hit Cena, and they'd boo when Cena would hit Triple H. Then Cena would hit the sit outside slam for the 3rd time, and he'd go for the 5-knuckle shuffle. This time he hit it. Triple H would get put up into position for the fireman's carry for the FU, but then he would grab onto the ropes, and then Triple H would go for the pedigree, but then Cena would counter into the STFU, and he'd lock it in, and Triple H would get to the ropes again, and Cena would pull him back to the middle. And Triple H would counter with a crossface.
Which was brutal.
Yeah, I mean, that was just, I don't know what that was. It was just way more brutal than usual. But then, at first it was just like it was just so really brutal. Then it was your typical crossface. Then he would, then eventually he'd go for the FU, but then Triple H would elbow out of it. Then Triple H would hit a pedigree. This time it'd be enough. He'd cover him and get the 3 count and would retain the WWE Championship.
Yeah, overall, I thought this was a very good show.
No, we both agreed to go with a 7 out of 10. It was interesting because, like, in the first half of the show, it was like kind of like just a bunch of like whatever stuff. But for whatever reason, I was never like really bothered, and it didn't really like offend me, or it wasn't anything like that. So,
well, because I think I was excited for the world title matches.
Yeah, those are what helped put it over the top. And I like the Kofi Jericho match too, but I think that's sometimes like the big matches can really like make or break the show as as common knowledge. But there's been plenty of pay-per-views in the past where even if it didn't turn out to be a great show in the end, what saved it from being like an awful show could a lot of time be like the main event or like the big matches that you're looking forward to. Yeah. I think that was another case here. So 7 out of 10 for both of us. Good show. Things to watch for this. Definitely the main event for number one, the Triple H and Cena match. And I was thinking a way it might be kind of an underrated match just for the fact that like I don't hear people ever really talk about this.
Yeah, neither do I. It's interesting because I think it's a